Well, hey everyone. So it's Fireside Chat again tonight, and we're going to be talking about. So each week for the next few weeks, we're going to be talking about a different being um, in the group of galactic beings that I'm in connection with, have been for some time. So just to let you know, we're live with Meditation with Matthew and My Time TV Live, also live broadcasting and bots, and on my Facebook site, Matthew Greenwood Spiritual Journeys. So here we go. So we're going to start off as usual with a meditation group, but we'll just wait for a few people to come on board. And don't forget to share this with, to let people you know that you think might be interested in this to come on board. Just let them know what's going on. And also, don't forget to ask questions through the evening. So we're going to be doing this for about an hour. And there's going to be a lot of information coming through around a particular type of being. And that being is mantis beings. So I've had a pretty familiar connection with one in particular, but also a second one that's coming through now. And it'll be great to share that with you guys. So, hi, Alison. Hey, Jasmine, Gail, and Roxy. Hey, guys. So, anything else that's going on? Yes. So, we have a winner for the Spirit Guide reading for tonight. So each night, for those that don't know, each night there is the opportunity for people that are listening in to win a free spirit guide reading with me for half an hour. So the person for tonight, the winner for tonight, is Amanda Jane Heaps, spelled Heapes. So Amanda, we're going to get in contact with you, and we'll be working out a time when we can actually make an appointment, and wherever you are in Australia or wherever you are in the world, and I'll be able to do that reading for you. So the one fortunate thing is it doesn't matter where you are on the planet. If I can get Zoom to you or get some sort of connection to you, I can let you know what's going on. Hey, Emma, good to see you on board. All right. So we haven't got too many here at the moment, but hopefully more will come through. So like I said before, don't forget to let your friends know what's going on tonight because they might be interested. So guys, just as I've discussed before many times about how important a grounding exercise is, it seems to be even more important these days, particularly over the last couple of months, because of the amount of things we're getting hit with left, right, and centre, including raising in frequency, including waves of energy coming through, full moon energy. So we've got a full moon tomorrow night, or is it tonight? No, tonight. So that's full moon energies are more heightened. So that's coming through a lot stronger. We've had a lot of solar activity. The Schumann resonance of the Earth has been spiking because of, not just because of the sun activity, but there's been a lot of solar activity hitting us. So that's had a huge effect on the Earth's energy, which in turn is having an effect on ours. So this is where that grounding exercise comes in. And hello, Maria, Irene, Trina, and Melinda, and Karen. Hey, guys. Everyone's coming in. Good. All right, so we're going to do this grounding exercise first, and then we'll get on with the talk. So here we go. So if you can just find a nice, comfortable place to sit, and just to start with, close your eyes. This is only going to take about 5 to 10 minutes. So as you close your eyes, taking nice, deep, full breaths. Hey, Petra. Just doing a grounding exercise. So with those deep breaths, imagine you're not just taking in oxygen, you are actually taking in life force as well. Nice, clean energy. which is what our bodies need to restabilize. Okay, so with the next deep breath in, pulling that life force in once again, with the breath out, pushing that life force down through your body, down through your base chakra, your legs and feet, and down into the earth. So just getting a flow of energy from that breath in, which is taking in nice clean life force, then pushing that life force down through your body, base chakra, legs, feet, and into the earth. What this will do is help to stabilize your energy, but there's a little bit more we need to do. So we're going to do that in a few seconds. But just keeping that same technique of breathing going. So it generally takes about half a dozen to maybe 8 breaths to get that grounding aspect done through your base chakra. So next, we're going to go deeper. So we have a multitude of chakras below us. The deepest one is right down at the core of the earth. And that's where we're going next. So taking another nice deep breath in, pulling that life force in, this time with the breath out, pushing it right down through your body, right down to the core of the earth. Just keep that same technique of breathing going. Every breath in is taking clean life force in. Every breath out is driving that life force down to that earth chakra, right at the core of the earth. Okay, so once you begin to feel yourself engage with that chakra, which generally means an overall feeling of warmth or look, it can be a connection, or some people even feel a floating, but it's actually floating in earth energy. Okay, once you have that, then if you can relax your breath. And what we're going to do, we're going to go into a space where we're going to raise our frequency now, way beyond earth energy, so that this then completely clears ourselves of other people's negative energy and other negative thoughts, emotions and feelings of other people that are projecting at us. Okay, so this energy that I'm talking about is right within you, right in the middle of you and your energy system. So knowing that you're far more than physical, what I would like you to do is imagine diving your awareness into the center of your body to start with. Now going beyond physical matter into your energy system. So we're very much like the TARDIS in Doctor Who. We have a whole universe inside of us. What I want you to do is dive into the center of that universe. Just keep diving deeper and deeper within you, within your energy, until you see, sense, feel a light. Hey, Michelle. So as you go deep into that space and you begin to connect with that raised frequency that is beyond everything else, it comes across a lot of the time as just a light, or a multicolored light, or a white light. Depends who you are. Some people see it a little bit differently. Okay, so diving deep into that. Now begin to expand that out. So just with your thoughts, expand that light out to fill internal energy, now drawing up into the physical from deep within you. imagine that light touching every cell in your body. And so as every cell is touched by that light, now expanding it out beyond your physical into an area about 3 to 4 meters out in all directions. And as that space begins to fill with light, now expanding out beyond that 3 to 4 meter area, which is taking in up to your 9th energy body. Now on the count of 3, I want everyone just to explode that light out limitlessly in all directions. Okay, when you're ready, 1, 2, and 3. Let it explode. Remember, no limitations. This expansiveness that you're expanding out literally will clear your energy of anything of a low vibrational nature. And it will also help to bring your baggage up to the surface so that you can clear that out too down the track. All right. So how's that feeling in being in that expansiveness? Okay, while you hold yourself in that space, we're going to come back in a minute, but what I don't want you, there's no need to do, you don't need to pull this light back with you when you bring your consciousness back to your physical. So this can stay expanded out. So very gently, when you start to bring your awareness back to your physical, let's just finish off with how we started. So taking a nice deep breath in, pulling that life force in again, this time with the breath out, pushing that life force down through your body, your base chakra, your legs and feet, and down into the earth. Okay, so when you're ready, you can open your eyes. Okay, how's everyone going? Any feedback you have of that feeling would be great to hear. So you can give me that feedback. That would be fantastic. So, hey Michelle, hey Fiona, how you going? All right, let's get into this. So, what we're going to be talking about is the mantis race. Now, these guys, I've talked about these beings, and I've had a connection with them for among other beings too. But a mantis being was one of the first beings that really had a very strong conscious connection with me. And I've had many people witness this being with me when I've talked. They've been able to see his energy. And this particular being is called Wretch. Now, unfortunately, this first one that I met 12 years ago has since passed. I'll get into that story in a little bit, but yeah, unfortunately, he passed away, but this is information that is part of his story, so we're going to get into this. All right, so they're from a planet. This is what Javed, another one, has told me. So they're from a planet approximately 70 light years from a cluster of stars that are known as the Dog Star system. Now, look, I'm no astronomer. I don't know, but I have heard of this vaguely. And so this is where they're from. And for us, you have to understand that mantis beings don't talk like we do. They actually have an almost, it's a very difficult language because the sounds they make are very high, shrill frequency. It's like a scratching sound. And I've actually had people hear them that they're around. And so, anyway, this planet is known as DGAR-1. That's for our benefit. So remembering this planet is the origin of their species. But he was saying that these days, their species is spread quite far and wide across the universe because of the role they play now in life. So let's start with the primary introduction into Wretch, who he is and where I first met him. So look, 12 years ago, when I was opening up a lot more on that galactic level, which I had been for a while, but I guess I hadn't had such a strong connection as I began to at this point. So he began to tell me about his story, or the story of his people, his species. And the way he came across was very, very personable. Definitely not disconnected, arrogant, or anything like that. There was actually an emotional connection there that I could feel, like a sense of they know what we're going through. But that story came more out later. So, all right. So their culture, if you take it back about 3,000 years ago, 2.5 to 3,000 years ago, their culture was very warlike. So they were one of the most feared races in the universe. They would, back then, they would just sweep through a planet, take it for everything that was worth, and move on, and take lives in the process. The one thing that they went through back then, which we're going through now, is that their culture, as much as they were very sensitive, that they could sense what was going on in someone as far as how they would react to us, to them, sorry. What they didn't feel and what their energy was shut down to was empathy. So they could not feel the pain they were inflicting on others. Now, they went through a similar process that we're going through, in that their lives were in a space where there was a raising in frequency going on for them as well. Now, what happened was, which they were not expecting, was that empathy opened up. So they began to feel the pain they were inflicting on others. And once you feel that, you can't go backwards. You can't unfeel things. So it began to turn their whole culture upside down, going from a warlike to struggling to deal with that empathy. And what eventuated was they began to change their ways. It took a while, but they're now in a situation, or have been for some time, and he's saying to me they've been in the situation where they've been utilizing their efforts and their abilities more to help others over the last 500 to 600 years. Now, it's probably more so over the more recent 200 to 300 years that they've been one of the members of the Federation of Planets or Galactic Alliance. They've had different names, but most people have heard of at least those two names. They play a role in with this group, and part of it can be a gun for hire, so security. But they also have other abilities which actually don't have anything to do with security. One in particular is they have the ability to sense so deeply within a person that they can feel when that person is getting angry or is beginning to get reactive inside them, way before it shows physically or through words or through thoughts. They can feel the chemical reaction going on in a being. And they also have the ability to see and read that being so well that they know exactly what to say to that being to calm that being down. So one of the roles that they play is bringing balance to situations with different beings. The other one is mediation. So they have great mediation skills, particularly when you have two completely opposing parties that have a lot of difficulty in coming together, and they have the ability to keep that flow of communication open between those beings. Now, many of us, one of the reasons why they are actually here is because with this DNA that's waking up inside us, many of us have DNA that's related to many different cultures. And one of the cultures that we carry DNA of are these mantis beings. And so in what I just said then about what their qualities are, particularly around that mediation or counseling skills, there's a lot of people that those skills are actually waking up more so in. And you're going to find over the next few years, as this continuation of raising in frequency occurs, that those skills are going to get stronger and stronger. And there seems to be many of these mantis beings around. And they're helping not only to protect us, but they're also helping to allow those skills to get stronger. And they're keeping an eye on us, on how those skills are reacting within us. Now, let's have a little bit more of a further chat around Wretch. So Wretch he was an older mantis being, and he took a lot of time out. He was with me many days through a week, and he would talk to me on and off when I had the time, and we'd have quite incredible conversations. I can remember, I've told this to a few people. It was an interesting place for this to occur, but I was having a bath. I was having a bath, and what was happening was, I heard him come in. He had a certain sound when his energy was coming in, and he actually wanted to talk about relationships and about how we deal with female-male relationships. He also wanted to talk about and tell me about the problems that he has with relationships. Now, this had nothing to do with, I guess you could say, the main reason he was there with me, which was to help educate me about these galactic beings and describe more about his culture, but also other cultures. But he was there just to talk about his own personal stuff. And there's a huge reason why. And it's because their society is very, very similar to ours, even though, to describe him, he looks nothing like us. So if I'll do my best to describe him, I'm going to have to get, and this is one thing I do want to do, I want to get an artist to draw me images of these beings that I've seen, because they're quite impressive. So Wretch would have stood about in the old language, about 6.5 to 7 feet tall. I'd say it was more likely about 7 feet tall. He was incredibly tall. As insects do, they have an exoskeleton and their body is segmented. And so the head area looks very, very similar to as you would see a mantis head is. Very short feelers. They're only about about as long, maybe as long as 2 fingers in length. And the upper body area is very bulky, and obviously it's a very hard shell with the organs on the inside. Very dark in color, but when the light hit his shell, he had these shades of a really almost phosphorescent blue and purples in the color of his shell. Now, also, and apparently that comes with age. The color is very dark to begin with. They have a lifespan, I've been told at the moment, of around about 300 to 350 years. So in their younger years, it does take a while for them to grow into adulthood. But when they do grow into adulthood, they take on these security roles very quickly because they're very needed across the universe to keep the universe stable with everything that's going on at the moment. Okay, that was a bit of a side issue that just got thrown in. So his upper body is very bulky. So it's almost a little bit triangular in shape, very broad across the shoulders. Two arms at the top, so he stands erect. There are smaller arms in the midsection, but they're not used all that much. There's another segment to the body where the hip area is, and the legs segmented out of that area. The legs and arms can look a little bit spindly compared to the rest of the body, but it's still very thick, I guess you could say, and very strong. So they don't have, as far as hands go, they don't have fingers. They have pincers. And the times when I've channeled him, I used to do a bit of channeling with him, and I'd feel my hands up against my chest with my hands together, just like pincers would be. It was funny. My arms would just naturally go into that position as his energy was coming into me. And he did over many times help me to experience what he could feel. So in groups, when he was actually channeling through me and his energy had basically stepped into me, I would be scanning a room and just moving my head around really slowly, and he would stop me at one person, and then what I could see in that person was everything about that person, right back to their childhood, and some of the things that you don't really want to see about a person too. But he gave me the insight into what exactly he could feel and sense, which was really quite amazing. So, all right. So his lifetime was particularly for him because there's been a lot going on. This seems like a side issue, but it's actually not, because it relates very much to his race. So over the last, at least this last 400 years, 400 to 500 years, reptilian energy has been very thick and fast on the planet Earth and around our solar system and galaxy. Reptilian energy is very much about control and manipulation. And guess what's happening here on the planet at the moment? A lot of control and manipulation. But it's interesting, a lot of the energetic reptilian energy that's been on the planet has almost all gone. So you could say it's not quite the right term, but spiritual energy that has been tapping into a lot of negative people's emotions and perpetuating that and creating a lot of disruption within people. Most of those beings are gone. What we're left with are more physical reptilian beings, which are working behind the scenes on a negative nature still, behind governments, military, and politicians. So the other thing with reptilian energy is they've been hugely controlling these other galactic beings like mantis beings, and so in their society, and this is one of the reasons why they've spread out through the universe, is because their source planet, their original home planet, was basically totally manipulated by reptilian energy, and quite often the males who were used for guns for hire were basically under control by these reptilian beings, and how they did that was to threaten their family. Well, excuse my language, but the same shit happens here too. So it's why I've had some really great conversations with Wretch over the years when he was alive. And it's why they understand us so well. As much as they look so vastly different to us, they actually have an incredible empathy for what we're going through. And they feel very frustrated for us because they've gone through the same thing. So what's happened I guess you could say, from about 100 years ago or so, this is what he's telling, this other one's telling me now, Javed, a younger one, he's telling me that what happened around 100 or so years ago was reptilian energy started to dissipate with this first evidence of a raising in frequency. But what's happened now over this last 12 years, when the major aspect of that raising in frequency started to occur, was, and this isn't just on the Earth, but right throughout this aspect of the universe, this had a huge detrimental effect on reptilian energy, because they've built their life and their whole energy system around manipulation. And so as this manipulation begins to disperse, what happened about 2 years ago, and this is just around the same time when Wretch died, there was a lot of infighting going on between mantis beings and reptilian beings. They'd got sick of the amount of control that they had on many of them in distant places. And so there was almost all-out battles going on between them. Now, there was a lot of undermining energy of certain races that was also going on within the different factions, I guess you could say, within the groups that have been watching over the planet to help us. And that's finally, what's happened now is that those factions that have been trying to undermine the system of change that's going on the planet, positive change, they've basically been ousted. And a lot of it has to do with the force that the mantis beings have really brought forward to change everything that's going on. So they've really, I guess you could say, they've put their themselves on the line, not just to help themselves, but to help us, and to clear out any negative beings, negative people, negative races that are trying to undermine the growth of humanity. I'm just going into something that someone's saying here. So Jessica's saying, thank you for sharing this info. And Jessica also says, everything you're saying, I'm having put into my mind that 1 minute before you start saying it. Okay, so you're probably hearing it as I'm hearing it, because a lot of this is being fed to me in the moment. All right, so what's going on, what has been going on is these huge changes. So unfortunately, what happened to Wretch, and he would, look, believe me, he was sadly missed by me because he became a friend. As much as it might seem crazy for me to say that I had a friend that was a mantis being, but he was. And like I said, very personable, very open, and a very caring being. So how did he die? He actually was tortured by reptilian beings and by forces that were working with reptilian beings. But he did that. He stood up for what he believed in, and he stood up for what he believed in should be happening, not just for his culture, but for ours as well. And so this really brings us to a much bigger picture of what's going on, that they're wanting, all of these beings out there are wanting to help us in such a big way. We don't, a lot of us, so many of us don't realize what's going on out there. And I'm just scratching the surface with what I'm telling you. There's so much that's actually happening behind the scenes that is bringing change in on the planet. So what's happening now is, even with this COVID thing that hit us, and this level of manipulation that's going on now with us, this is a ripple effect of that reptilian energy that has gone but left instructions on how to follow through to continue manipulation. But the big thing is, this raising in frequency that's going on is actually undermining any of that manipulation that's happening. But we still need to fight it. And this is one of the, if there's been a statement that these mantis beings have been giving us, is we need to fight what's happening on the planet. We shouldn't be standing up and just letting this stuff happen to us, because so many people are following through and just believing everything the government's saying, and it's just not true. So this level of manipulation is being seen from everyone outside of the planet, many people on the planet, but there's a lot of people that are missing the point of what really is going on. So, all right. So this, I don't want to talk any more about Wretch, because we have someone else here now. And for me, this mantis being is actually connected to Wretch. He's actually, believe it or not, he's Wretch's son. And his name's Javed. So he's been with me for the last couple of years. He's had, you could say, a hesitancy to connect with me. I think we were both feeling different things from each other. There was a lack of communication for both of us for some time. But he is talking a lot more with me these days than he ever has, so, which is good. I think he's still coming to terms, of course, with what's been going on. So Javed, like I said, he stems from a warrior race. But what his one of the things he has talked about in the past, I've just got a few notes of things he wants me to remind you of. He said that they were having trouble in acknowledging if we're strong enough and determined enough and committed enough to fight for what's happening on this planet. It's happening on such a subtle level that, and look, not so subtle also, but we just need to be fighting this stuff. We shouldn't be allowing ourselves to put up with it. So, statement from him: have we become a race of compliant and controlled cattle, or have we had enough of the level of manipulation that exists on the earth? Remember the frog in the pot of boiling water. I don't know if you've ever heard of that story, but if you put a frog in a pot of water and you heat it up slowly on a hot plate, then the frog doesn't realize that it's actually dying from being overheated. And this is what's happening to us. We don't see what's going on all around us. We get used to different such situations of change, and it just keeps happening. As change gets even more so, then we just get used to that because we have been compliant, and this has to change. So he's saying him and many other beings who are part of the Federation are more than willing to fight alongside us in different ways when we are willing to stand up to this worldwide dictatorship that exists here. He says, don't allow the lies that are being fed to us, particularly the worldwide inoculations, which we know to be a heightened level of dumbing down of the human race. Strong words, but very true. So he's also said that people have come and are coming to a great level of spiritual change. And they're here, all of those races out there are supporting this. So these are things that, believe it or not, are more important. There are things that, believe it or not, are more important than free energy systems, which are coming to the surface now. Clean air and water, feeding the poor and the starving. These things are learning to communicate without judgment and being prepared to treat everyone as equals and remember the common thread that is underlying between all beings, that is love and respect. The education system will begin to break down in the years to come, and it will become evident that a new way of learning with a new foundation, namely clean building blocks of spirituality at its source, let's say a more pure version of spirituality, which they've said to us on a few occasions that by 27 in the education system, they're seeing, they can foresee that the education system will be based on spirituality as it's the building blocks. But we have to fight to get this stuff happening. So they say, and this is him saying this, we observe changes as they occur through many of your cultures, and we see this is already in its infancy. So as we are able to, we will help to nurture these changes as the opportunities arise. Spirituality is the foundation of the majority of our cultures and is the underpinning force that brings all educational subjects together. It is the thread that weaves all knowledge, philosophy, and open learning together. We look forward to the time when we can personally show you this face to face and show you our learning systems and how strong they've become. So he's talking now about as our spiritual abilities open, just as we discussed a little bit before. So this is a word to many of us that have noticed our spiritual abilities opening up. You'll notice a level of ringing in your ears. So I don't know if anyone has been feeling that at all, or tingling in your space over the months to come. This is the effect of your energetic bodies changing and adjusting to the current evolutionary processes, which we are going through. We are going through evolutionary processes. We're all going through it. Also, we at times will help to tweak your energy system to cope with this, because there are some times when our physical bodies are having difficulty because they just get tired because of these vibrational increases. I might just stop there for a sec, and I know there's a few questions that have been coming up, so let's just go back a bit. So Cherie's saying, how can we fight energetically or voicing? Number one, by holding our space, but by when we're talking to other people, don't help them to understand, help educate people to what's going on out there. Education is the most important thing, and for all of us that know that there's stuff going on that is so manipulative, we need to educate people about exactly what this is doing to us, how it's numbing us out. And many people are becoming compliant. I know I'm sure as hell not going to be, but and I know a lot of other people aren't too. But so Jessica is saying, just peacefully, don't comply. True. So this isn't about having a battle or killing people. This is actually about standing up and being heard. Now, we've got hi Tracy. Thank you for stopping. Oh no, that's got nothing to do. Okay. So Sherry saying Jessica Bourne. Yes, I agree. Sherry, you and Jessica should have a good chat. I think you're on the same track, just as we all are. So Sherry's saying, I've been raising my vibration. I know you have. Also talking to people to help them to think in another way, to what they can cope with, but I feel there is more to do. I just don't know what. I feel I'm at a roadblock and searching for the next advancement in this crazy dictatorship we're surrounded by. Exactly. So let me ask him what things you can be doing. All right, so he's saying, this is Javed is talking, he's saying what you can be doing is with your raising in frequency, you can expand that out not just for yourself, but you can expand that out into the humanity's consciousness. What happens is you expand that high vibrational energy out into humanity's consciousness enough, and that controlling and manipulative energy and thought processes that are being taken in by the people that's seemingly compliant, this helps to shake up their energy system and helps them to see the truth more. So it is a very passive, what seems to be on the surface passive, but by actually projecting that higher frequency out to everyone, what that will do is help to shake loose anything of a manipulative nature that's going on, whether it be projected energy from people, manipulative energy from technology, screens, TVs, phones, all of that kind of thing, and these fear tactics that have been projected at us too. So Tracy's saying, since last Thursday, my body has been rejecting white carbs and sugar craved carrots the other day. I had a big ball of energy in my solar plexus build up then too, and I've been purging. Fantastic. Thanks for that, Tracy, because I had a feeling that sugar and carbs was going to be next on the list of things that our bodies were going to start to let go of, start to reject. And literally that is what's going to be happening now from here on. So, depending on where people are at, they're all starting to their bodies are starting to reject a lot of things that are in a negative level, that are affecting our bodies in negative ways. Hey, Sandy, it's been a while. So she's saying a mantis being came to visit me a few years ago. I blocked it off as I didn't know what it was nor what it wanted. It's only after it left there that I was told what it was. How can I reconnect with it? Just ask. All you have to do is ask. Put your energy out there, and you would generally, what happens is we can remember when we've had a being connect with us, we can remember their energy signature. So all I'm going to get you to suggest you do is to actually just radiate that connection out to that being and see what happens. You may get him to come back in. Petra's been purging too. I hope that helps, Sandy. Yes, embody our higher selves every day, raising our vibration to raise the collective. And look, for the guys up in Queensland, I'm going to be talking a lot about this stuff when I get up there. So I look forward to sort of sharing that with you. I'm going to be up there between the 1st and the 13th of July, so that'll be fun, and I'll be able to get this stuff out to you, and you can follow through with it. So no problem, Sandy. Woohoo! Next week, exactly. All right. So back to Javed. So there is definitely a time to be treating your body well, which is so important these days for what's going on. We do need to be looking after our bodies better. nurturing our bodies, because particularly at the moment, over this last few months, the frequency changes have been quite dramatic. Also, the Schumann resonance has been spiking over and over and over again. That has a huge effect on our energy system. And so what happens with our physical body, because the physical body is the densest part of us, it tends to become very sluggish because of the changes, and it's the hardest part to cope with this. So the more we look after our physical body, the easier and more powerful the effect is of those grounding exercises that I've shown you, and so this then we can control our energy more. So Dare's asking, can you talk a bit about the Schumann resonance? Okay, so what I understand about the Schumann resonance is that it relates to the frequency of the Earth. So up until only a little while ago, and I'm suggesting it'll be probably more so over the last couple of years, the Schumann resonance, which relates to the frequency of the Earth, has been spiking on and off, but nowhere near as much as it has over this last month. So this raising in frequency that's all around us is having an effect on the Schumann resonance, on the Earth's energy system. But when you understand that our energy system is, because our soul has chosen to incarnate in a body on this planet here on the Earth, our energy system should be, not always, because a lot of people are very disconnected at a heart level, but they should be grounded and connected to the energy of the Earth. So when you do, whether you're emotionally connected or not, you're still affected when the Schumann resonance, the Earth's frequency, changes. So when the Earth's frequency changes, and particularly when it's spiking over and over and over again, that has an incredible effect on our physical body of fatiguing us. So we really need to be looking after our bodies a whole lot better and feeding it the right way. And Jessica's just saying, oh, okay, I don't know where this came from. Can you talk a bit more about the Schumann resonance, which I have? Yes, I consciously did twice in the past, but this time my body went ahead and did it for me. And that's what is happening more and more. Our bodies are literally just rejecting things. I've had that happen with meat, which I never thought was going to happen. So arthritis response out of nowhere, that can be from frequency changes. So it went once sugar and gluten was cut out of Jessica's diet, which makes sense. You're looking after you're actually listening to your body and what your body's needs are. Cool, guys. So nurturing yourself is really important. All right, guys, have you got any more questions? Because this is a huge opportunity. I've got Javed in my ear, so if you have any questions, please bring them through, because he's here to help out. What I will say is that they are, as much as they have this these two sides to them, they have been brought up to be very battle hardened, but they have that incredible sensitivity too. So this sensitivity is what is really playing out at the moment, and is really helping not just the group that they're working with, but it's helping us, because I see a lot of mantis beings around people. They're actually helping to protect and to help with the changes, the energetic changes that are going on within people. So these mantis beings are here to help. Don't think of them as being threatening, because I've had a long time dealing with them, and believe me, just because they don't look like us doesn't mean they're not here to help, because they've been brought up in a society much like ours has been, with a lot of manipulation and control. And I guess you could say their manipulation and control was much more overt. It actually wasn't subtle and like this has been through media and electronic media and paper media. It's actually been very overt and down to threatening their lives, having their lives threatened to control or conform. So Adair's asking, how do you know you're getting messages from galactic beings and it's not your own voice in your head? Great question, Adair. So I might finish off with this one. And I had a feeling someone was going to ask this question. So, all right, let's look at the bigger picture stuff. So when I communicate with guides, which I've been doing for the last 32 years, and it's proven itself to be pretty accurate, all the way through. Whenever a being talks to me, a guide, which generally relates to let's say, an aspect of the soul that has had life experiences here on this planet, then, I hear what they're saying, but not always do they only speak an English language? Not always do they speak an English language. So they can speak, let's just pull one out of thin air. I had a medicine man that was with me for a long time, and he didn't understand English. And so he was a Lakota medicine man that had no English in his upbringing. So how did I understand him? How did he understand me? Because when you communicate with someone, there is far more than just words. When you communicate with someone, there's verbal communication, there's an energy that's driving the words that you're saying, but there's also a story in your mind about what you're actually talking about. So when you can actually tune into a being, when you connect with a being, you have the opportunity to actually feel the energy behind the words and the story that the words are about. So if you can actually feel the energy behind the words and the vision of the story that the words are about, you don't need to understand any actual words in your space. You're getting it all through other senses. The same thing is said for a galactic being. See what this does, the information that's coming through that vision and through the feelings of those words comes through our filter. And what happens is, as it's coming through our filter, we hear it in our words. It's like we've got a translator in our head. And so what happens with that is we have the ability to interpret that information that's coming through on other levels, not so much on a word level, but then it gets interpreted in our mind. Now, when you've done a bit of work on yourself and you understand what your thoughts are, when another energy comes through, say it's from a guide or from a being, a galactic being, then you know it's not your words. It's not, the energy is different because they have their own frequency and their own frequency signature. And this is what's really important, is to be able to feel that stuff. So it takes a little time, but it doesn't take that much time. So one of the things I do is I help people to be able to use these skills to hear and feel and see guides and these galactic beings. So these are services I offer, and I'm happy to help people out if that's what they want. But it does take a bit of training, but it's what I do. So, if you're interested in being able to connect with guides more, then just sing out and I can help out. So Karen's saying, is it only with our permission that they will help? That's interesting. Another good question, Karen. What's been happening over, I guess you could say, over quite a long period of time, is that we, in theory, theories don't always work out, but in theory, we're supposed to be evolving spiritually all by ourselves. But that's not the case, hasn't been for a long period of time. So there's been a lot of negative galactic beings that have been supporting the military in different ways, feeding them, drip feeding them information, um, other ways to manipulate the masses. And so that level of input that's coming on a negative level of galactic energy is now being balanced out and further balanced out by positive galactic input. So there's kind of like a set of scales that's been going on. There's been so much negative input from negative galactic beings, but now that they're actually starting to be pushed out of this space that we're in, that's another story. But because that's happening, what's happening now is there's a high level of information and help and guidance coming through from galactic beings, and this is what's actually helping to bring more change. But they can still only do so much. They still have to keep to an agenda of allowing us to grow as naturally as possible, even though they are helping to balance out the scales of the negative input that's been coming through. But more and more, as we do ask for help, they can guide us, but there will be times when they can actually step in and help too. So it was only last year sometime that I actually came across and saw physically in Mount Crawford Forest up over here in South Australia a being that was had only been here for a little while. They'd been throughout the universe, but not in our solar system, because there'd been an energetic barrier up that had kept them out, and that was put up there by reptilian beings. That barrier came down last year, and now these beings are en masse all around here and throughout our solar system. And what they are policing. It's a policing force to keep the interactions between species as neutral as possible, let's say, without any negative effects. So, like I said, that's another story for another time, but I would like to share their story more, maybe in one of the upcoming episodes. So Christina's, hang on, Jessica. So I have aphantasia and no voices in my head. That's how I know. Not too sure what you mean by that, Jessica, but I'd love to hear. Christina's saying, how should we, with utmost respect, refer to them in conversation? Look, I call them family, but galactic beings, please don't call them aliens or extraterrestrials. I think it's a bit of a detrimental name. It's not a particularly nice reference that because of the negative input that certain beings have had, they're really their galactic family because they carry DNA that we carry, all of them. And again, which is another story. But we share DNA, so we're family. But galactic beings is a nice, simple one. Yes to the energy being entirely separate. Yeah, so their energy is definitely separate. So Tracy's saying, "Wow, do you know how long the barrier was up for?" Yeah, for a long time. It's been up probably for. My feeling is upward of around a couple of thousand years. The the beings that have been on the planet, including a lot of reptilian energies and other different species who have been long-term manipulators of the human race, they're all but pushed out now, because this barrier has come down, and those protectors have come in and are now taking control of the situation that's going on around our planet. And they've even been on our planet, as I said. I physically saw one. So, hey, Leonie, long time no hear. Hi, Matthew. I'm wondering, what density are these mantis beings that guide us? Absolutely physical. The mantis beings are very, very physical, but they have the ability through technology to project their energy into our space. And what they've learnt to do, so some of these beings can manipulate energy and time and space. These mantis beings are very similar to us. They may look differently, but they are similar to us in that they are mostly physical. They do have a higher frequency with their thoughts, but their physical body is very physical. But they can use technology, just as others can do this without technology. Mantis beings do need this technology to be able to project their energy into our space. They've learnt to come in on the same frequency that guides come in at, and this is why we can see them and sense them with our energy system. And Karen's saying, thank you, that answer feels right. Thank you. Brendan Taylor, all our voices are our own voice. All voices are our own voice. I have to disagree with you there, Brendan, just through experience. I can't say anything more than that. I think I get what you mean by that in the overall picture, but these voices, you could say the consciousness is becoming as one. Voices are starting to work as one together, yes, when we're all fighting for the same fight, when we're all wanting to have the same outcome, positive outcome. But there are many voices that don't, that are separate to this. So it's a nice way to think about it, but it's actually not completely that way, unfortunately. It is a good news that those protectors are here. Hey, Petra, what would explain why I feel pinch on my shoulder when I need to pay attention, maybe? Well, possibly, see, different beings or different guides have a different energy signature. And so maybe this is just where or how one particular being's energy signature is connecting with you. This is all I can suggest. And it's a real strong way to get your notice, which I'm sure it has. So I guess the question is, Petra, what do you do when you feel that pinch? Do you actually ask who's there? That would be a good one to find out. Yeah, look, Brendan, I didn't want to jump on you around that one, but in the bigger picture, when we're fully evolved and there's no longer this us against them thing, the internally how this all started with these galactic beings in the first place, and why this conflict has always been there within the universe. That's why there were a great number of them placed here on the Earth to begin with, to find one voice. Through many millions of years of growth and change on the planet, and DNA. Let's call it DNA conjunctions over all of these different species interacting with each other. We still haven't got one voice. we're still looking for that. What this raising in frequency is doing, it's going to be, we're going to be on this journey with this raising in frequency over the next 80 years. And the big hope is, and this is what the time after this 80 years of raising in frequency is a coming together of all people on this planet, where everyone will be in peace finally. And that's when we will all have one voice. Those voices are getting stronger, but there's still a lot of negative voice out there, which we have to fight within ourselves and let go of, and then fight to help others to understand what exactly is impacting them they can't see. So I hope that helps. Petra, that would explain why I feel pinch. Sherry, how is it the reptilians became so powerful over us on this earth? Basically because they had no competition. What competition is there now is this raising in frequency. See, their whole energy system is built on a much lower vibrational resonance. And they've been able to manipulate us humans for a long period of time for that, because you could say their nature is parasitic. So what they do, they feed off our negative energy, but they have this dual effect of, once they're hooked into our energy, they can actually feed us with negative thoughts, negative emotions, which then just perpetuates those negative actions that we have, but also the negative energy that they get fed with from us. So they feed off that negative manipulation that they're projecting, but also off our own negative energy and those negative emotions. And a lot of that comes from not being grounded. So this, again, is why that grounding exercise is so powerful and needed. So, yeah. So look, guys, it's 8:15, not 12. It's nearly 8:15. Really, really grateful for the questions you've come through with, and what you've brought to the table tonight. I hope some of the information that I've given you has helped. These guys are going to be doing this over the next number of weeks, and as long as they want to keep doing this, I'll keep sharing it, because it seems very valid. One of the biggest things we need to be remembering is that these are living, breathing beings that are out there that are helping us to grow, helping humanity to evolve. It would be really great if everyone could come on board with this. So education is the name of the game. So look, thanks everyone. And please, if I can help in any way, don't forget to give me a call on 0410 658 797. It's up on the screen now. And I would love to be able to help you guys out. I've had a lot of success with this, yeah, happy to help. So take care of yourselves. Have a safe week, and I shall talk to you next week. Thanks, guys.